So thank you guys for joining me and the Universal Asian today. Just a quick info on the Universal Asian. We are an open and safe online platform aiming to provide inspiration to Asian adoptees and hyphenated Asians around the world. We strive to mainstream discussions on any and all topics that help make our community of Asian voices universally heard. It's our goal to bring people together, so please reach out to us if you want to be interviewed or if you want to share something of your own or collaborate on a future event like this. And I do want to remind you guys that this is being recorded, and when you signed up through Eventbrite, you should have had the option to either check I give consent or I don't give consent. And if you chose to remain anonymous, don't worry about it. I will edit that accordingly. So feel free to participate as you like. I will be monitoring from the back end. So if there are any tech issues, I'll take care of that. And if you have any questions, just post it in chat, or if you have any concerns, just send me a direct message, or you can go through the chat as well. And now I would like to introduce the creators of Up Close, and Laurence and Tong Zhou.
Hi, so thank you for inviting us. I think I can share my screen now, so it's a bit of a visual for the presentation. We can introduce a bit. The zine is a collaboration with Laurence and I. It was during the Chinatown Biennale, and it's pretty much a peek into our creative process with the work Come Closer. I'll tell you what I forgot, and from China to Canada. I can also let Laurence present herself too before starting the video.
Okay, well, hi, my name is Anne. I grew up in complexities, and I moved to Montreal for pursuing a music career. And so now I'm a musician and also an artist, and that's how Tong and I met. Tong Zhou and I met. So that's it for now. I think we'll go through with the scene.
Yeah, we can show a bit, get started from the beginning. And I think for introducing the zine, we can quote from the two questions we both had for creating our work. It's just showing how cute and little the zine is. I'll let it in loop, I think, or maybe, yeah, I'll stop to for the beginning. So do you want to
yeah, so
the question, just a little part with the question.
So what our zine was about, it was a collaboration for the Chinatown Biennale, because they wanted first to host a panel with the two of us, but then at the time of when it was, so in last May, I think, or like last summer, people started to be less into online events, so they didn't want to do an online panel, and they asked us to do whatever we wanted, and so we decided to create a zine that will document in some artistic way our artistic process, and for the works that we had presented to the biennial. And so my work was a performance artwork that I also made into some public more artwork because of the pandemic. And so the work came to fruition when I started to ask myself how I could identify with my story, my original story of adoption, when I had almost no trace of it, and certainly no personal memories.
Sorry, I was talking in mute. Yeah, and for my side, it's pretty much the same beginning, since we're both at this we're both adopted and from Quebec City. So I wanted to show this this similarity in our research. Yet the question is different for myself. Is it possible to reuse souvenirs of my adoption without referring directly to them? And for souvenirs, what I was aiming was more photographies, touristic objects. That's something I'm trying to inspire myself a lot. And that's also the same thing of having to work with not a lot and try to make meaning and to be able to talk for yourself and for all the history you're supposed to have as the historical background. And then I think we could go on, continue the loop. So for us, the creation of the zine was more, we were approached by the Chinatown Biennale, and I don't remember exactly how we decided to do a zine, but I think it was the most simple way to present both of our work in collaboration. And for my part, I worked a bit with some publication, and since I'm less comfortable with words, I think I wanted to work more with images. How we separate our work. It was we started as interviewing ourselves and seeing what can come out of it, and what ideas and what structure we wanted the zine to have at the beginning. Since I think Laurence is more of a performer in the music area, and mine is more in visual arts, I think it was to find a middle ground and how both of our work can be in a one visual thread. And so that's why there is a lot of repetition in the zine. So it starts with the same beginning. I think this was really inspired from Laurence performance, where the first phrase is the same for all the stories she performs, and then on mine is the same too. And if you can see, on each of the pages there are Anne Laurence Chinese name on top, and on mine it's in the bottom. So there's a lot of I played a lot with the key symbols to help a certain visual coherence, and then you see that there's a certain narrative thread that is that we are trying to convey through the images and through the text, the extracts of the conversation. And since it was pretty small, I think we still wanted that there's like a conclusion, and that was the part that serves as a conclusion for the little zine. And I don't know if Laurence, you want to talk a bit more about your part for the translation, working more with the presenting our work publicly, and for the sale and the promotion. I think we were more comfortable with that part, approaching people about our work.
Yeah, you mean, what you mean, like the challenge that we had, like logistically, right? So I'm not on mute. So I think it went pretty well. It was the first time, my first time creating a zine, and so there was a lot we didn't know about what we needed to in terms of materials and in terms of cost and sales. So I was more into that portion, whereas Joe was more in the visual because I let them do all the visuals because I'm really not like a graphic artist. So while they were doing this wonderful visual support, I was more into getting quotes from different companies, and then like planning how much time each steps would take, and also thinking about promotional partnerships in maybe our circles in Montreal and with certain organizations, and also checking with progressive libraries here, independent libraries, if they would be willing to sell our zine too. And we were actually able to sell one through one of the library last month. So that's really, I was really proud that someone unknown actually bought our zine. That was really nice to know that people would be drawn to both the visual content and also what we had to say. And the translation, yeah, we started writing French because it's both our mother tongue. So, but then we decided to translate it because our aim was more to make this the most accessible, and also we wanted to share it widely. And because also it was a partnership, it was made for the Chinatown Biennial, with, whose founders are in Toronto and mostly Anglophones, and that their communities are Anglophone, and that we also wanted to use it as a bridge, not only between adoptees, but also to a bridge to other Asians that were not adopted. So we thought that using English was the more sensible option, as because then we would be able to reach more easily different kind of people and different kinds of community, so that there was a choice that we decided to take. So now I can maybe start to talk about the work that I decided to present to the Chinatown Biennial before Charles does the same. So I will start. I have so the work that I was able to present at the Chinatown Biennial, and that we decided to include in our zine was called Come Closer, I'll Tell You What I Forgot. I actually presented, like I conceived it in French and then translated it for the biennial, and we'll present what it is. So let's present myself a little bit, very shortly. So first of all, I'm a musician. I do experimental music and performance. I also produce concerts and compose some music. And then after my my education in music, I started doing performance and video and storytelling and installation. I was born in China, adopted in Canada, and I am not in Montreal. So as I said, I started to the project Come Closer. It really came from a question I had when I started to do studies in arts and technology. It was by chance, it was coincidence, but I went to an art exhibition that struck me so much that I still remember very vividly. And it made me ask myself where I was coming from. And at that time, I was not able to really know this about myself at all. So I started to ask myself a lot of questions, and that was the beginning of my own, like, my self-research. And then I started to work on adoption, and I started to do like self-research, ethnographical research, research on identity and adoption. But even after a year of doing this pretty intensely, I still wasn't able to connect to my own adoption story. I was still feeling like when I was talking about adoption, I was talking about someone else. So my question was, how can I connect it? How can I connect myself to this original story I had? And then, so by chance, also, I came across this book that looked like really nothing in my university library. It was not even in the part of the library I was searching in. It was really like by chance. And this book is pretty known. It's pretty famous. It's from a researcher who passed away actually 3 years ago, who went who traveled a lot to China for several, I think at least 2 decades, and had Chinese researcher partner, and they would interview families, like hundreds of families who had either like any kind of experience with the one-child policy. So either they adopted a child they found, they relinquished a child, they got a child taken from them. So it's a kind of a research book, but also a storybook about like presenting all the different cases or all the different scenarios that people would live through because of the one-child policy. And so when I was reading those stories, I felt something I had felt for the first time in my life. I felt like I was belonging to some big stream of stories. And even though I still don't know what happened to me before I entered my adoptive parents' life, I really felt like I could at least have an idea or have like something more realistic to imagine for myself. And then there was this second book I found, which is not exclusively about adoption, but it's also about mortality and kidnapping of young children. And that was also part really important in the work that I had developed a couple of months later. So yeah, those two books really were important to me, because I felt like even though I was not able to know my individual narrative, I was still able to attach myself to a collective narrative. And that was really what foundations of the project I was working on were, because I was the answer, because my question, as I said, was how can I connect to a narrative, my own story that I have no memories of. And the answer was well, to investigate and to connect with the collective narrative, because my own narrative is a part of this big stream of stories. And so what I decided to do was to speak those stories in front of an audience. I also wanted to speak them in front of like one person at a time, but then I realized as a performance it was not really good, because then I didn't think that people um, would wait in line to hear one story at a time. So what I did is that I would tell stories, like all the stories that I read in the books. I found I used those that were the most like different, and then I would kind of attach it to my own story. So I would narrate them really like if it was me who had lived it. So it was all first person, and then each time a different person would come and sit in front of me, then I would narrate a different story. So I wrote I wrote 7 that were really like they're basically what I read in the books, and then I would modify them a bit so that they would match the part of the story I knew, which is basically just that I was in an orphanage and then I got adopted. But then anything that came before was unknown, and so it was I mean, for me to connect with all those different narratives to my collective narrative, and also in as a kind of like second effect to also give a voice to those stories, because we never hear about birth parents, about what happened to them, and what happened to us with them before. So it was also kind of important to me to give a voice to those stories and those people. And in waiting for someone to come and stand in front of me, um, I I wanted to confront the public, because in these studies, like the Western societies we live in, we're always imposed a narrative about like how we should feel, how we should think about our adoption, and how we should interpret why we're here, and by narrating stories that are really nightmare stories for us and for our birth families, and really heartbreaking stuff, and like really showing that international adoption is very causes a lot of problems, probably more problems than solutions. Then I would confront all of those preconceived ideas about us, and then I would be the one in charge of telling the public what it was really about. So because of that, I also wanted to create an atmosphere and a place of its own, where when people would enter the room, they would really enter a place where I would be in control and where they would have to listen. So I also scattered the frames, some frames here that you can see, that were paying homage to all the people that had offered their stories, and that I used. So it's really like to say that what I'm saying is like really real. It's inspired by people who willingly gave their consent to share what happened to them and their child. And so I wanted to have this space where people would have walked in, because it was also during pandemic, so it was all live stream, but I still made the whole installation, and it was like really well documented. And also during the live stream, they would, like, the technical team would go around and film all the installation I made. So I wanted the space to represent the collective memory also itself. So a lot of babies were left in blankets or in card boxes. So there were a couple of card boxes and blankets all around. I wanted this like a kind of really intimate atmosphere, so I only had really warm light and not any light from the ceiling. And then also had this big kind of a curtain where I had hung text. Some texts were poems or letters left behind by birth parents that were documented in the books or law articles about the adoption law in China during the one-child policy. And so we can see quickly how did I made, like, so you can see like how it was made very quick. And then ideally, I would have had people go around, and that people would like really be in that space, and anyone could willingly like come and sit in front of me, and then I would narrate one of the stories, and each time a new person would sit, then it would be a different stories. And in all, I had 7 stories, and they were all about 10 minutes. So the whole cycle was 70 stories, 70 minutes, sorry, about an hour. And the real version, what I would like would be that I would not stop until there, like, as long as there would be people sitting, then I would continue the whole cycle. And of course, I don't expect people to be there and stand for 60 minutes. So the effect that it would have is that if you just stay for one story, then you would think that it's really my story. But then if you stay for 2 or 3 stories, then you begin to understand that what I am as a performance is not myself or an individual. It's really like an embodiment of the whole collective narrative. And so because of the pandemic, I had to adapt because it was this work was like really made to be an interactive live performance. So I was pretty heartbroken that I couldn't do it with real people, and that I still hadn't. I'm still searching for opportunities to do it live. And so I had also because I wanted to keep this interactive component, I decided to for the festival that I was presenting it to send letters to whoever would ask for a letter, and each letter was actually one of the stories. So I handwritten them and then sent them to 100 people or about. So. And then for the Transcultural Biennial, what I proposed, because they wanted something like public or like deambulatory, I suggested that all the stories would be like the audio of the story would be linked to one QR code. So there was 7 QR codes leading to 7 stories, and then I would stick those QR codes in the different, like in Montreal, so around Chinatown, but also in downtown in general. And then it was also some of them were also disseminated in Toronto area by the festival founders. And then so the idea is that people would randomly scan one and then be able to access those stories. And then I also made a website that I wanted to do anyway for archival purposes, but then it ended up being the actual first version because of the pandemic. So so you can, like, anyone can go. There's a French and an English version, and then if you click on any of those images, then you're led to one of the stories, and then so you can continue and go and then come back to the main website and then click on another story and then go through all those stories in French or in English twice, like how many times you want. And then that's it for my own presentation. I think Joe will present their work first, and then if you have questions, feel free to like write them in the chat, or if not, you can keep that for the end, and then we have a question period at the end. Thank you. I'm stop share.
I always like to hear about your and it's always a good refresh. I think for my part, when I saw your work for the first time, it really inspired me to do the same, but in a way I think it didn't exactly fit my way of understanding adoption, or maybe it was I didn't felt it was true to my way of making as much as I think you were one of the first person that spoke in a more critical and verbal way from the Chinese diaspora of adoptees. I think from the Korean diaspora was already been done, but since our diaspora is younger, it was less approach. And from my part, I'm a I don't know how I describe my work, but I know I'm a multiple disciplinary artist. So I pretty much like to touch everything. Each medium for me as a way to help me to understand myself, the way I see life, the way I sense life. That's something that's always a pillar for my personal journey. And so for me, the work that I presented during the Chinatown Biennale is actually a work I'm still trying to put words in it, but I think the long repetitive process explains a bit on itself, and also the title, which is From China to Canada. So I think for me it was a work to represent the linear time from where I was born to where I'm at, and this a bit idealized world that's sort of infinity. Well, okay, and then so I can show you a bit the work. There was actually take the other one. I have two of them. I was limited with the space and the materials I had, so they are like twins, two little weaving twins. And for me, it was a creation. I think I can show you from close. So this is the scenery. It's from Saskatchewan. It was taken during a road trip, and it has a strong connotation with the Windows XP mountain. For me, I like to be inspired from everyday life, from what doesn't make sense but attracts the eye, and in the way I think I trust a lot my subconscious to put meaning into my work. And so for my weaving, it was a lot about creating a form that is really unique to the journey I'm trying to do, that is not only individual, but it's also linked to the culture, the language. That takes a lot of time that I'm choosing to sacrifice a bit of my art practice to content. I'm not sure if it's a word, but to have some sacrifice so that I can learn the language, so that I can understand better the culture, and that there's a more a coherence in what I see when I talk about Chinese culture and what I mean inside. So if I know both sides, I have a better understanding of I think my own identity, that is the body that disconnect with the outer world. And I think there's a lot of meaning I'm trying to putting in my small meanings, but I like to understand life through the touch and through the action. So I can show you a bit the video of me doing some weaving. So it took me pretty much an entire semester to do. And okay, so it's only, I can put it in loop too. I'll put it just in loop. This loop is nice. And share. And that is the fast version of the weaving process. It was pretty long, but actually since I was graduating and I had like 6 classes with a language test exam and applying for the master, it was a good way to listen to podcasts, to listen to the HSK test recordings. So doing the same exact thing was a bit me to transform this frustration of doing the same thing. I think I don't really like to learning something that is repetitive, but when it's with my hands, I think I have more resilience to do it. So so that it connects. Doing with my hands helped me to connect with other activities like learning the language, learning about my past. I think that's something I'm always in the back of my head. That's an action that really connects with the destination I'm trying to reach, that is going back to China. So even though I think the process is showing that I'm currently in Canada, that's the only thing I can see and I can capture in real life. But I think in the what I really want to see, I think it's a bit of both, like a place that you can have the two, that is possible to be visual, but that I think is a pretty complex wish. And if I can talk a bit about why I choose pictures, I think it was trials and errors. The photographic paper has like a good quality as a material, and that's something it was like I had a selection of type of paper, and the photo react well with the okay. I think that's a lot of I'll just stop the loop. It's a lot of loop. But yeah, the photo paper really connected with the thread, and that's something it's important for me, is that to trust the mediums before trusting the message I want to convey. And even though the initial was more to work with paper, with drawing, I also like to draw. I end up going totally in photography, and I can show you a bit. I think I can start the chat but I can show you one of the first weaving that I did, and I still think it's one of the best. This is the weaving of the toilet of my parents in their home, which is really just there, but now it's not renovation. It was actually one of the first samples I did for inventing and inspiring myself from this Chinese calendar. And I think there's a lot that doesn't make sense because I put a lot of symbols and stuff together, but I'm sure that it makes sense at the end. And I think for this one, even though it was the first one, it also showed this transition from one type of medium to another, and renovation is more as this symbolic thing to it. Because right now what I'm working on more, and I think that helped me to put more work to the work I presented at the Chinatown Biennale, is a series of the photo that my mother took. This is like the smaller weaving frame that's there. That's my sister, who was also adopted. I think I would have liked, I think, to have self-portraits or stuff like that, but of pictures of myself. But since my sister was the first child, she has more pictures than me. But it's really good picture, and I think it's also a symbol of, in a way that when you are a baby, it's also a symbol, and that's something I'm interested. The pictures of children as a symbol. I'm not sure if it's objectifying them, but in the way I think adoption is a bit an objectifying process of putting babies in another country without their consent or stuff like that. So I think I'm doing a bit the same, but with a different point of view. And those images is really for me to do sort of a circle between the historical aspect in my path, my travel journey into the art world, and I think I just lost what I said, travel, but what I want to say is that how can the personal and the visual world can connect, since like Laurence mentioned, it's not only about my story, it's about an entire community, and finding answered on your own is pretty much harder, I think, because there's not the family support that can really give you the answers. There's a lot of stuff such as how strong your soul or mental health is to start those process, and I think it's a lifelong journey, and just making art is also a lifelong process of being healthy and unhealthy. But I think I can conclude. I'm not sure if I think I tend to go on all the direction, but yeah, I think I'm done for my presentation. If you have any question, I think we can jump right to it. Should we start with Laurence? I think ZT had a question, or Ella, do you want to?
No, I was just going to say that, yeah, if the floor is now completely open for any questions, and I see that we have a couple in the chat already, so I'll just let you guys go ahead and answer those.
Do you want to start with maybe the last question we got? ZT is asking, do you have blogs where you showcase your artwork? If not, you should consider doing it. It would be cool to see how you created your zine picture frame and textile art.
Oh, I think that's more of a financial aspect and time to it. Because yeah, we also for the zine, I think that the challenge was to condense two complete works to the it was not like only the draft of it, that was like two pretty jack-packed content to put in too. But that's why it could be a good idea to have a prolongation with a blog or something, or for it to have a more context in the zine.
Yeah, but I think as a blog, like we both have, I don't know if yours is active, but we both have websites, like personal artist website. And for me, that's more like my way. It's not a blog, it's really like a full website. And also like the whole work, because my work is not like the frames, because the frame, like I think when they said frame, they meant like your frame, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, my work is not a physical work. It's not a material work. It's really like more like the core of the work is more just stories and storytelling. Yeah, but maybe on your, like, can we see that on your website, Joe?
Not the behind the scene. I think it's only the final work. Yeah, but maybe on my Instagram. But I usually post a lot of stuff out there, not necessarily Korean stuff.
Okay, so we have time for this last question here. How, aside from this creative project, how do you stay connected to your culture of origin? Do you celebrate Lunar New Year?
Do you want to start, Joe?
Yeah, actually, since Chinese New Year is the year of the tiger, that is actually my year of birth. I'm super hyped with the new year. With my friend, we also bought a new and also have some decoration. But I think that's just like more of a funny way to celebrate it. But apart from that, I think it's through reading some story about the Chinese New Year and the customs. I actually have a book that for children that I read, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't enjoy to read on my own when it's not like homework. But for this, that's actually, I think it's pretty much interesting to read about, and it's like two for one. So I'm learning about the language and the culture at once. But how do you stay connected with it? I'm also a big fan of dumplings. So I don't know if it's like, I like to, for me, staying connected is also about finding like a joy and a lightfulness to it. And there's a lot that can bear heavy on the shoulder, and that's something I like to enjoy on my own. Like I read a lot about studies, essays of adoption. I read the One Child Nation, sort of like that also helps me to reconnect. But that's something I'm less comfortable to. I think my external self is more like bubbly and every way around. I also have a more serious side that is more like bedtime story for me, that I like to do that. I'm not sure if it answered to your question, but what about you, Laurence?
I think did I ever celebrate Lunar New Year? I think once I did by accident. I just went to a friend who's also an adoptee, and then she was making dumplings on that day, but it was kind of an accident, which was kind of nice. I also decided I'm gonna celebrate it this year. And also one thing I decided to try, I started a couple of months ago. I started to tie knots, so like traditional knot like this that you could find in like souvenir stores, but actually like handmade. It looks, I think it's better. It's more sturdy. Um, because I read that actually Chinese knots historically, because now they're more like all decorative, they're like aesthetics, but historically they were used to record information, so either historical events or counting or like money for accountant like accounting like money, I guess, for different reasons. But what I really liked was that it apparently was used to record events, and then the more complex and that was, the more important the event it represented was, and the smaller or the more simple the knot was, then the event was more minor. So that was like super conceptually also interesting for me, that this practice that was really crafty and really kind of hands-on, also represented something that was a storytelling basically. And then I also learned like how to tie them, but also how to interpret them, like what they meant. To be honest, I think they kind of mean all the same thing. They all mean like luck and prosperity and like good luck in life, this kind of thing. But like said in different ways. But also like you can also like do them, and then there's a lot of other traditional and also mixed with other cultures. So Japanese and Korean knot traditions have a lot of resemblances, but then some of them would have different interpretations or different ways of doing the knots. So all of this, yeah, I'm doing this really for fun, but maybe eventually I'll do like a bigger project with it. But yeah, for now that's it.
Awesome. Okay. So we are at the end of our time, but thank you so much to everyone for coming tonight and sharing. It's really cool to learn about what you do. And I did not know the thing about the knots, but that is really, really cool. I'll have to do like some digging of my own. But yeah, thank you.
There's not much to go on in English, so I guess we need to learn to read characters now.
Yeah. But anyway, so good night, everybody, and happy Lunar New Year coming up. I hope you all have a great week and stay warm wherever you are. But yeah.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.